Would say that it was. Well, it's basically good once you realize that you have digested like an important part of the language, and then you can go and you can start putting the language into practice. When you have more speaking exercises and listening, and you are actually able to deal with exercises without any issue. So I think those were quite good. For example, I remember I think one course which was short but really intensive was this course in Työväen Opisto, and basically in the course we had every day, like, we read some news from the newspaper, and those were really very difficult news, but actually they had those news and they had interviews or audio with spoken language, and it was really great to be able to understand that and maybe try to express some opinion about it, and it felt really good. So empowering, and you kind of felt that it was useful what you were learning, because you could actually like,
put it to work.
It was not just filling one more or 10 pages of an exercise that when you feel this and then you feel the next page and you feel it, and then it's like, okay, I managed to do this small task, but when I want to put everything in practice, then I had like a flood in my mind with so many different alternatives, and it was, like I mentioned, I think there is this process where there's so much information and then it's hard to digest it. But when you can try to apply this to some discussion and some subject, you actually maybe manage to put into practice what you have learned. It's not that you just progress filling the book, but you progress by actually learning how to use that rule.
True. Okay, and the last question would be, if you had the ideal Finnish course without material nor time limits, what would you think it is? It could be dining out every day, traveling.
I had
gaming. Who knows?
No, I had, for example, this time when I had once a week this 1 hour conversation here at my office, and maybe I would get some exercises from some of the books. But I believe that was actually pretty good. That I learned. We went through some. We started with a conversation about what happened, what I did yesterday, for example. Then we went through some grammar, and then again we tried to put some of that learning into practice, and it went like quite easily. It was nice having the conversation and trying to apply the knowledge and having some guidance. If you needed to ask, you could clarify relatively quickly your questions. Many times in a group, maybe it's a bit hard because you might have like really a lot of questions, but you don't want to interrupt the dynamic, or maybe the dynamic doesn't allow you to interrupt so often. So I believe that was like really ideal when you get this kind of intense practicing and interaction
with the teacher.
That was like really excellent. Probably I also would love a lot to have more like movies and music. I believe that could help a lot to improve the vocabulary. I think I've had similar things or methods in some courses, maybe in other language, and I think that could be really handy, because if you like a song, and then you can learn the words and know the meaning, because you sing it once and again, you can.
Yeah.
That helps a lot to build vocabulary. But that's something that I actually haven't been able to do in Finnish because there's not much people or spaces for learning this. And definitely I think in the courses we didn't have that.
So maybe the inclusion of some pop culture.
Yes. Yeah, because basically, you could easily watch a movie or listen to a song many times with pleasure at any moment. Like it doesn't have to be in the classroom.
Yeah.
But maybe at some point, in order to get access to the lyrics and to be able to understand the lyrics and all the words, it's really easy to have a facilitator. Like it's not fun to go on your own and look in the dictionary and then find that I cannot find this word in the dictionary, what it actually means, and because it takes time to look in the dictionary, and then sometimes you really need to know why it's conjugated like that, or then maybe it was a completely form in which the word was used. So definitely with assistance of a native, you can go understand the song, and then on your own keep practicing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until it sinks in.
I think that would be cool. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you would like to add? That was my last question.
Yeah, no. I think there were not so. It's a challenge. I believe that also the access to Finnish language courses. I think it's not so easy sometimes to have. Like they can be sometimes relatively expensive. And there's like this, of course, like limited places in some spots.
Yeah.
It's hard to have all the information about all the courses available. And also there's like this lack of, it's difficult if you take a course somewhere and then you cannot continue taking the course there because of the time or there's not the space. Then you go to another and then it's like the content of the books, like it's not very, or of the courses, like overlaps partially but not completely. So I mean it's hard to have a continuity of and learning the language in different places. So it would be nice also, I don't know, somehow to have a bit more standardized like
system maybe.
System of the content that should be viewed in different courses. So.
Yeah.
And also ways to more alternatives for taking courses on an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
And maybe probably also having more spoken practice, which I believe that it only comes until very later stages in my experience. In the early courses there was not much effort to speak.
To make you speak.
And also to read like usual content, not only
the book.
Very boring, maybe a story about, whatever things in the
unrealistic book. Stuff.
Yeah, it would be nicer to see something more contemporary. Okay, I don't know. I think that's
okay. Then